What's up guys, it's me Parth, and Asus actually hooked me up with the GX700 from their ROG lineup, and this I think is probably the most unique laptop of Asus in production right now. And it's unique mainly because of two reasons. First of all, because of that separate hydro cooling unit that actually ships with the laptop itself. I'll talk about it in depth in a bit. But secondly, the price. So this sells for about $7,000 here in India and slightly cheaper than that in the US. So it's pretty much completely overkill, and I'm pretty sure you won't even buy this. It probably even won't sell that well. But I'm glad to know that a product like this exists in the industry, and it's totally worth knowing the technology inside. But before we do, a quick talk on the design front. This is pretty much similar to every other gaming laptop that Asus ships. It's nothing out of the way in terms of design. It's bulky, it's really heavy, and since it's so big, it actually comes up with this full-size keyboard, which I would say is just fine. It's not the best. It does have a little bit of flex in it, but it has a great travel and the keys have a pretty good amount of space between them. Plus it's backlit. Every single key does not really have an individual LED, so there is sort of light bleeding, and it only lights up in red to kind of match up with the whole design theme. But as time progresses, it kind of grows on you. And as far as the trackpad is concerned, I wish it was a tiny bit more bigger because it's a gaming laptop, but at the end of the day, you might just use an external mouse to game. Oh, and since this laptop is so thick, it also has all kinds of ports you'll ever need, including the very latest USB Type-C port to charge the device. And speaking of charging it, that power brick is probably the biggest I have ever seen in my entire life. I mean, I just had to share it. But the first major pro of this device is the display. It's a fairly big 17-inch display with a huge fat bezel all around it. But the display itself, it's first of all, it's 4K and is just good as it gets. It's got great viewing angles, it's very rich in colors, and the blacks are one of the blackest I've ever seen. It's pretty much like an OLED display where the pixels just don't light up to produce that black. It's just insane. You've got to see one of these in person to get a feel of it. The only thing that I did not really like about this display was the saturation level. It was a bit too high according to my taste, but then you can always use a color calibration software to adjust that. But all over this, if we talk about the performance, as I said, this is one of the most expensive gaming laptops in the market right now. And so you kind of expect it to crush in the performance aspect, and it absolutely does. It's got the greatest specs on paper. It boasts a 6820 Core i7. It's the 6th generation Skylake, 64 gigabytes of RAM. I repeat, 64 gigabytes of RAM, NVIDIA GTX 980 GPU, and both the CPU and the GPU are actually overclockable, so you can literally push it to the max while gaming, and you might just have a desktop class performance on your lap. I mean, I played some pretty heavy games on it, like GTA 5, and I was getting an average of 75 to 90 frames per second, which is amazing. And even in Battlefield 4, even though I didn't really test the FPS rates, it was just console-like gaming on this laptop. Highly impressed. And this was all without that hydro overclocking system. And speaking of that separate hydro cooling unit, in the first place, it's actually pretty easy to install it. All you've got to do is to place the laptop over the nails that pop out from its base, and then you need to push down the metallic plate on top of it to insert the various pins and bolts into the very sci-fi ports located in the rear of the laptop. And that's pretty much it. The laptop gets locked and the whole mechanism starts to function. So the dock itself contains all of the liquid cooling components. It's got 90mm radiators, 2 of them. It's got fans, it's even got vents, a pump, and a reservoir. So once it is hooked on with the laptop, the liquid actually flows through the laptop, and it not only cools that, in fact, more than actually cooling it, it overclocks the performance of the laptop. It basically becomes a complete desktop in front of you. And to give you an idea of what this actually does, the GX700, the laptop without the dock, actually delivers around 30 frames per second without a power source and 60 frames per second with a power source, which is pretty good. But once you dock it in, it immediately crosses over 100 frames per second, which is insane. Even benchmarks, I tested Cinebench and it scored 120 frames per second with the dock, which is very impressive. But at the end of the day, the laptop itself has one major con, and that is the battery life. I really think that in order to push the performance, Asus kind of sacrificed the battery life of this laptop. I mean, you barely get a 2-hour runtime on a single charge, probably thanks to that 4K display and the beastly specifications inside. So you should probably always be hooked on to a power source, at least while you're gaming. So the combination of the hydro cooling dock and the laptop itself is actually an innovation in itself, but it's probably one of the most impractical practical things I have ever come across. The combination actually results in a desktop replacement rather than a laptop replacement, because you pretty much lose all of the portability, since together it weighs around 10 pounds, probably more than that. So at the end of the day, would I recommend it? Probably not, because I think this as an experiment, the first major iteration of the series, and not too sure if someone would want to get it, but if you want to get it, get it. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Feel free to share it, feel free to rate it, and I'll catch you in my next one. Take care.